just on my way from the Winds office in Wellington, and I've made an application for an emergency food allowance for a Compassion Centre soup kitchen ticket. And I've just been receiving some assistance from the staff at the Winds office, and in this case it was an island Asian man, and I'm taking the financial docket to hand over for a concession ticket, so there's no actual transaction of money changing hands. It's done by paperwork. Yep. And I'm just going there now because I'm going to buy a meal there for $1 for the ticket for an evening meal, which I think is quite good value, and it's quite a good communal feeling there amongst the fellow diners. Yep. And it's been a nice day here today, and all's going well so far.
Great.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Well, today is 5th October, it's my wedding anniversary. We've been married for 21 years, and I met my wife in America. We dated for 3 weeks and asked her to marry me, so it can work.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for your story.
That's all right.
Have a good day.
Bye.
A story. Do you like my birth story? Okay, I'll give you that. A story. When I was 18, I got hit in the head with a giant turnip on my grandparents' farm that was thrown by my brother, and I had to go to the Oamaru hospital with suspected concussion. The turnips were planted because there was a drought and there was no grass for the sheep, but the turnips got so big and so hard that the sheep wouldn't eat them.
Maybe not. I just talked for an hour in a lecture theatre, and I'm publicly talked out.
72 in a 50 zone, I know, I feel bad, but it was in a transition zone, as far as I was concerned, transition.
Thank you for your stories. Yeah. Rise from the ashes like a phoenix sun.
I had a story when I went to Trieste that time, and I set off the metal detector by mistake.
Yeah. Tell me the story.
When I used to go to Wellington High School, there was this guy that had a heart attack and was driving. I was in the 4th form at Wellington High School, and it's shown that he died, but I stopped all of the road and stuff like that. Stopped all of the traffic and. Do you want to keep going, or?
Here's a good one. And it's not a story as much as it is a history, but it's one of my favourite ones. And in fact, it's not so much connected to this place, and that's always what you should do, is try and connect the story to the location that you're sitting in, or at least to the people that you're talking to. That's the holistic tikanga Māori, is to make sure a story has some relevance, and I suppose it does. In the sense that the people that we're going to talk about met in the same spirit that we're meeting today, in the same kaupapa. So, right. And it's about this land too, which is even better. And it's a little known story, Tupac is. And to old school Māoris it's well known, except it varies from location to location, and some tribes know the story better than others, in particular the tribes that have lived in remote occupation, who have maintained strong connections with the feminine, have maintained knowledge of this story, which is universal throughout Māoridom and the old families. And because my family is from down south, in particular from the mountains and up the trails where the pounamu was found, and on the coast where we build our temporary homes, the story has been kept safe. And what happened is that in about 650, between 650 and 800 AD, this group of waka come across the Pacific to beach at Nelson, and the name of this particular waka was Uruwao. And uruao means to set a new home in the west, or it means the world in the west which never dies, or it means the sunlit world on the western edge of the ocean. The uruao waka majestically stormed through the cacophony of swirling tides in the heart of the Pacific, where they meet each other, a place known as Taiatawheke, and eventually made its way to Whakatū, which is the Boulder Bank in Nelson. And on this waka were about 140 young men and women, and they were the remnants of a group of people who had started their journey maybe 400 years before that in the islands of Hawaii, and led under the memory and spiritual auspices of their great ancestor Ra, who subsequently became known as Ra Kaihotu, the great sun, as is his name translated into English, is the great sun, who was a fantastic navigator of oceans. Eventually made it to Whakatū, and these people were known as Waitaha, and spread their seeds throughout the South and the North Island in a land that was very underpopulated. However, it was populated, and this story is about the population that pre-existed Waitaha's arrival to New Zealand, because they were very beautiful people. And so Waitaha, living on the hills above Christchurch, the majority of the families are centred there on the Port Hills. Hills known as Ngā kōwhatu whakarakaraka tamatea pōkai whenua. It's in there, sometimes I have to pull it out. And they were living on this one hill known as Te Herua Kahukura, above Christchurch, looking out over the plains, which are known as Ngā Pākihi Whakatekateka Waitaha. And in the winter they would look down and they would see this myriad of lights and lanterns shifting across the plainscape, and they would be there all winter, mingling with each other, spreading away, lights as far as their eyes could see. And Waitaha knew that these lights belonged to people, and they also knew that the tradition of the Pacific is that when people come to a new island or a new landmass, they must wait for the original peoples of that land to be able to porphyry them in, and that's a universal custom throughout all Pacific Islands. So they waited on top of this hill for the people of the lands to make their first move towards them and teach them and invite them into this new land, the South Island, Te Waiponen and Aotearoa, both islands combined. And so these lights never come. And every winter for 3 years they would watch these lights gather north of the hills of Pākihi Whakatekateka Waitaha, the Canterbury Plains, and each summer they would disappear, south, and they would watch them go in this grand line of coloured lights, and which is a very grand sight in the middle of the night from the top of Pohua Tamatea or Herua Kahukura, which are two peaks above the Canterbury Plains.